un igualadí ja en la dècada dels 40, és a dir, en l'època que representa que han de ser dels més productius. És llicenciat i doctor en Ciències de la Informació per la Universitat Autònoma de Barcelona i va cursar estudis d'Història a la mateixa universitat. Des del 2001 és professor titular del Departament d'Estudis de la Comunicació de la Rovira i Virgili i ha estat director del Departament d'Estudis de la Comunicació de la Universitat Rovira i Virgili i coordinador de les titulacions de Publicitat i Relacions Públiques i de Periodisme, ho he de llegir perquè comprendreu que és molt llarg, d'aquesta mateixa universitat entre el 2002 i el 2008. És coordinador del Màster de Comunicació Política, Institucional i Corporativa de la Universitat Rovira i Virgili, ho va ser durant l'any 2010. Les seves línies de recerca principal són l'estructura i les polítiques de comunicació a Catalunya i a Espanya i les relacions entre esport, cultura i societat. Com he dit, farà la seva ponència en anglès i li cedeixo la paraula.
Moltes gràcies, Xavier, moltes gràcies a tothom. Good morning, everyone. As Xavier said, my presentation is going to be in English. My English is very easy to understand, hopefully, mostly for Catalan speakers. I don't know if it's so easy to understand for native speakers. Maybe they wouldn't agree with that. But I will do my best for everyone to understand me. And if you have questions later, we can talk in Catalan or in English, or I don't speak Dutch, for instance, so I'm sorry. Not yet. Okay, first of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this, the conveners of this seminar, Doctors Xavier Vila, Albert Bastardas, Miquel Nicolàs, and the Center for Sociolinguistics and Communication of the university. Thank you very much for inviting me. My paper, I'm sorry to say, it's going to be a very quantitative one. I'm going to show you a lot of charts, a lot of statistics. It's basically about numbers and persons, and I hope you don't find it too boring, but it's about numbers. That's what I want to show you today, a lot of numbers. It's very simple statistics, it's just persons that everyone can understand, even if we are from the arts side, everyone can understand persons, hopefully. This is the result of my midterm involvement with two research projects. A report on Catalan communication, Informe de la Comunicació a Catalunya, which has been published by the Institute of Communications of Universitat Autònoma since 2001. So I've been involved in writing this chapter on Catalan language in the media since 2005, probably. And lately I have been also cooperating with the report on the situation of Catalan language published since 2010 by the Institut d'Estudis Catalans. So I've been doing this compilation of data for some years, and this is a synthesis, this is an abstract of those data. I want to warn you as well in advance that I'm not an expert in sociolinguistics. I would say rather that I am an expert in media studies. This is my field. So I'm sorry if I make some mistakes when talking about linguistic policies or language policies, because this is not my field of specialization. So I hope I don't make too many blunders when I speak about sociolinguistics. Another warning is that the data I am presenting is only about Catalonia, not the other areas where Catalan language is spoken, mostly because data are sparse and there are not many data. Systematic data about Catalan language in the media in the other areas of the linguistic domain of Catalan language. So it's mainly or only about Catalan language in the media in Catalonia, only. And another proviso I want to make is that the data I am presenting are about calendar years. And the last calendar year, full calendar year, was 2011. So I won't be presenting data for 2012 because the year has not yet finished. So there has been, as you know, some developments in the field of the media in Catalonia, which will affect data more probably, but I will refer to them, but they are not in the data. I will be showing you. Well, there are some methodological issues concerning the use of second-hand statistics, as most of you know. It's always a danger when you use statistics. You need to be very aware, very wary about using statistics. And concerning the presence of a language in the media, one can resort mostly to statistic series, I would say. You can resort to statistics about supply. For instance, how many newspapers in Catalan language are in the market. That's an indicator, of course, but you need also and mostly to focus on consumption and demand. How many single copies of those newspapers are sold, how many viewers, TV viewers, or what is the reach of Catalan language television among Catalan population. So I will try to combine both data about supply and data about demand as well. And before going to the charts, I want to point out as well that this study is focused on what's the relative position of Catalan language as opposed to Spanish language. I will be showing mostly percents. What's the percent of, say, Catalan language newspapers as opposed to Spanish? I will be always showing this opposition, Catalan versus Castilian in Catalonia, in the Catalan media. So let's go on to see those charts. I prepared 19, as you can see, and I put the number so that you can see where are we at any moment. I will try to be short and brief because quant de temps tinc? Sí. Well, this is a chart about individual newspapers, publications, dailies, not weeklies, just daily newspapers, which have a diffusion or a circulation in Catalonia. This includes paid newspapers and free dailies as well, and this includes Barcelona-based local newspapers in other Catalan cities and papers from Madrid, which have a diffusion in circulation, in Catalonia. As I told you, I'm showing you the relative position, but I can also give you the exact figure. For instance, in 2011, there were 33 daily newspapers which had circulation. I'm not counting here those newspapers with a marginal circulation, but only those with considerable circulation in Catalonia. 33 newspapers, including free and paid. And this chart shows you the 7 years evolution since 2005 till 2011, and you can see that there is a slight trend. This is what we are going to see in most of the charts. We will see a general trend, slightly increasing trend in favor of Catalan language. Catalan has been improving steadily but slowly but the trend is quite clear, I would say, in most, if not any, of the charts I will be showing you. For instance, in this chart you can see that in 2005, 25% of those individual newspapers were Catalan language. Whereas in 2011, 30% of those newspapers were Catalan language. And I want to make a proviso as well, because you know that some papers publish some contents in Catalan as well. But I did a binary classification, mostly Catalan or only Catalan, mostly Spanish or only Spanish. So I cannot count bilingual papers unless I make a new category, which I didn't. So I just made a binary classification. Catalan only or mostly, Spanish only or mostly. So there's been an increase, although the curve, it makes a little bit of a flat in 2008, slightly down, but then in 2011, you know, with the creation of the Catalan language version of La Vanguardia, or the creation of the Ara newspaper, this has changed. This has helped to improve the ratio of Catalan newspapers, Catalan language newspapers, as opposed to Spanish only or mostly. This chart is about single copies, how many copies circulate of daily newspapers, overall as well, free and paid newspapers. You can see that in this case, from 2005, there has been a situation, I would say, of a stagnant situation, around 12–13% of single copies corresponding to Catalan language newspapers. But then you can see that in 2011 there is a jump to 20%. We jump from, exactly, I will tell you, 17 to 29% in 1 year. And this is, of course, because of the Catalan version of La Vanguardia, which is, as you may know, hugely a paper with a huge circulation, and the creation, as I told you before, of this new Catalan-speaking newspaper, Ara. So there has been a change, although, as you can see, most of the circulation, 80% of the circulation of dailies still correspond to Spanish-speaking or Spanish language only or mostly. This chart is slightly different because this is about only pay papers, not overall. Here you can see that the height of Catalan is higher, I would say. But you can see also that there has been a situation of stability or stagnation in the percent of circulation of Catalan copies, and even in 2009, 8, 10, there was a trend slightly downwards. I don't know. Can you appreciate that on the chart? There is a slight trend towards decrease. But then again, in 2011, there is a big jump, and we go from this figure of almost 30% of single copies of corresponding to Catalan language newspapers. This trend probably is going to increase in the future, I mean in 2012, because as most of you know, there has been a closure of 2 free papers in Barcelona, which were mostly Spanish, which were ADN and Metro, or Metro, but free. Well, 20 minutos. Because Metro disappeared in 2010. And then in 2012, two free papers have closed down in Barcelona. And this means that the percent of Catalan will be further, will increase further in 2012, and maybe we can reach a figure of 40% of single copies circulating in Catalan language in Catalonia. This chart is about reach. Reach is how many people of the, how many members of the Catalan population above 14 years old do read usually in Spanish, dailies in Spanish or in Catalan. It's a different figure. This is about audience, and in particular it's about reach. And in Catalan it's penetració of this particular medium. You can see that the reach of Spanish dailies has been stagnant, this flat, almost flat line, always around 36%, with small oscillations. But then you can see that the blue line corresponding to Catalan, to reach of Catalan dailies, has been increasing in the last 4 years, although there was a flat between 2009 and 10, but if you see from 2008 and 2011, the increase is quite clear and steady, I would say as well. This is about the weeklies. Publication weeklies and bi-weeklies, publications going to the market twice a week. And this is also this is the number of single outlets, or single publications. How many weeklies do appear in the barometer? The barometer it's a statistics about audience in Catalonia, media and culture audiences in Catalonia. And you can see this evolution where the blue part of the column corresponds to Catalan language weeklies. And then again you can see that there is a slight trend towards increase, whereas the number of single weeklies distributed in Catalonia in Spanish tends to slightly diminish, always in proportion. This is relative proportions. This chart is about people, readers, not publications. This is about readers of weeklies again. And here the trend towards an increase of Catalan, Catalan language consumption is not so clear. I'm sorry that I don't have a longer view. I only have those 3 years. But again, between 2009 and 2011, there is an increase from 35% of readers. This is aggregated readers. If we take all the weeklies which are visible in the barometer, and then we aggregate the readers of each outlet, then we get this figure. And then the percent came from 35% to 37.5%. So again, we are improving the presence of, or in that case, the consumption. This is readers. There is a mistake. This should be monthly. Sorry, monthly and other periodicities, not weeklies. And this is again the number of single periodicals you can, which are visible in the barometer. I don't know if you know that those publications are only visible in the barometer if they are above the threshold of 4,000 readers. Only those monthlies above 4,000 readers are visible in the barometer. Again, we see this increase, slowly but steady increase from 30% to well, this is a more marked increase, I would say, in the number of individual outlets, monthlies mostly. Now, later we will see that free monthlies or free publications have a very important role in this increase, because, as we will see, almost 80% of the weeklies and free weeklies and monthlies in Catalonia are Catalan language, which is quite interesting to see. This is readers. I have only data. Sorry. This is free papers, free monthlies and weeklies mostly in Catalonia. And again, this is percents always. There is a comparison between 2008, March 2008, and March 2011. It's a 3 years time span between both samples. And then one can notice that there is an increase in the percent of free papers in Catalan language mostly or totally. Whereas there is a decrease in the number of papers, free papers in Spanish, or here there is a bilingual category, which corresponds to those papers who more or less combine both languages at the same proportion. And then there is other, which is mostly English, or mostly English, of course. But then when you aggregate distribution, circulation, I mean number of copies, not number of outlets or publications, but number of copies, you see that the jump has been quite significant, because in 2008, 60% of the circulation of those free papers corresponded to Catalan language papers, whereas sorry, there is a mistake as well here in the chart. In March 2011, the figures are quite different and are very positive for Catalan language free papers. There is more than 80% of those papers, copies, single copies, which are printed in Catalan, whereas the number of mixed or Spanish language free papers has diminished very much, and it seems that the crisis has affected very much, or more, has affected more the Spanish language or mixed free papers than the Catalan ones. Remember that those are relative figures, not absolute. Those are percents always. Now let's move to radio, broadcasting, and then this is a chart about reach. I remember that it's about how many people above 14 years old do listen usually to radio according to the language of the broadcasts. And here the trend is quite significant, quite clear as well, because you can see that the bars tend to be the same. From 2008, Catalan was 26 and Spanish was 36, and in 2011 the bars were almost the same height, which means that you can see that there's been an increase in the reach of Catalan broadcasts, and there's been a diminution of Spanish broadcasts, the reach of Spanish broadcasts. Of course, locals know that this has to do with mostly with the role played by RAC1. It's a private network in Catalan, which is doing very well in audience terms. Even it has been almost above the audience of the public Catalan-speaking network, which is quite relevant. This chart, I'm sorry, maybe this is going to be a bit complex to too many different persons and magnitudes. This chart is about taking every network of general purpose, not music, not just general purpose networks, and aggregating the audiences according to language of the broadcasts. The blue bar corresponds to the aggregated audiences of all the Catalan speaking general purpose networks, and the red one is for Spanish. Then here it's quite clear as well that there's been, in the last 5-6 years, there's been a clear trend towards an increase of the aggregated audiences of Catalan networks, general purpose networks, and a decrease in the aggregated audiences, aggregated individuals listening to those networks. This is a chart for music radio stations, and here the trend is the same. Catalan is improving, Spanish seems to be diminishing in terms of aggregated audiences, but here Spanish dominates. There are locals know that there are some very powerful networks which are mostly broadcast in Spanish, music networks. So here the situation is quite different, but again in 2011 you can see that the trend is towards an equalization of both columns. Let's move to television. This is a chart about reach. Remember, number of individuals looking at television according to the language of broadcasts. And the reach of Catalan and Spanish both has been on the rise, as you can see, slightly in the rise in the last 4 years. But it seems that the reach of Catalan broadcasts is growing, at least from 2010 to 2011. We will see if this trend continues in the future. But the figures for Catalan seems to be on the rise, more on the rise than Spanish. But still, Spanish broadcasts have a higher reach than Catalan, clearly higher still. This quite complex chart. I won't explain it fully because there are too many lines. But this is about share of its audience, its aggregated share for calendar years, and this is a long-term chart. For instance, by the way, all this material will be in the paper, so you will be able to have a look with more patience and more time to those charts. And then what is interesting here is that most of the lines, as you can see, go down in terms of share, and this is due, of course, to the proliferation of new channels. We entered the multi-channel era, as you know, and you can see that the line corresponding to other, this line, the only one going up steadily in the last 10 years. And this corresponds to all the other networks which have been created in the last years, whereas the other lines correspond to the traditional networks which moved to the multi-channel era with a decrease in a steady decrease in the share of audiences. But again, the exception, as you can see with this red line, sorry, this line here, is the Catalan networks of the public broadcaster. This is an aggregated figure for the different channels of Televisió de Catalunya, and then again there is a decrease which is parallel to the decrease of other channels, other networks. But it's quite interesting to notice that the data show a recovery between 2010 and 2011. And they are actually the only traditional channels going up in terms of share, aggregated share. This is a bit of a trick, because all the other lines correspond to single networks, and in this case it's aggregating sorry, the data for TV3 and all the other channels of the Catalan public broadcaster. Then, this is about cinema. Locals know perfectly that cinema, theatrical exhibition of cinema, is the area where Catalan shows the poorest figures, and this is clear from this chart. Only around 3–4% excuse me, of the individual tickets for going to movies in Catalonia correspond to movies in Catalan or dubbed into Catalan or subtitled into Catalan. Whereas almost the rest of the tickets correspond to Spanish. And there is I would say a residual percent for English or other languages, because maybe you know that in Spain we have this bad tradition, I would say, of dubbing every single movie, and there are very few people going to original version movies. This goes back to the time of Franco and the linguistic policies of Franco, on even maybe further back in time. But then what is interesting here is that 2011 shows a jump, I would say, from 3–4 to 7–8%, and we will see whether this trend continues. We don't have already data for 2012, but some partial data show that the trend is going on. This trend towards an increase of the number of ticket sales corresponding to films in original version or dubbed or subtitled in Catalan. And this is music, audience of music. Again, here the trend is more clear than in the case of cinema. You can see that the blue column corresponds always to Catalan, and here this is how many people, then turned into persons always, how many people listened, or maybe rather stated to the people doing the poll that the last song they listened was in which language: Spanish, Catalan, other. And here there is also an increase of the person corresponding to Catalan, and a steady diminution of the person corresponding to Spanish, and an increase as well of the person corresponding to other languages. And this is quite clear in this 5 years chart. This is a quite clear chart. Now, I'm approaching the end of my presentation. This is about the internet. This is a quote from this man, Joan Soler, who's the president of an NGO, I would say, which is devoted to trying to measure the presence of Catalan language on the internet, which is not easy task. And then, according to his report he published last year, Catalan language is placed 75, more or less, in terms of number of speakers, but his position on the internet is much better than what would suggest this position of Catalan language in terms of overall speakers. Because in many statistics you can find Catalan between 10th and 20th in the rankings. For instance, if you go to Wikipedia, everybody goes to Wikipedia, and everybody enters and looks at Wikipedia, then you can see that if you make a ranking, there is a ranking of articles by language. And then Catalan is 13th, above many other languages with a nation state and with a much higher number of speakers. So the community of Catalan users of internet is very active. That's what this proves, that there is an activism in the internet, and there are other figures showing that indeed other statistics I will show you, not to be too long, but there are other statistics showing this activism of people involved in promoting Catalan on the internet. This is the number of .cat domains registered, and here it's absolute numbers, not relative. In January 2012, we were above 52,000 .cat domains, and the figure is increasing, is on the increase always, and the increase is quite significant, I would say. This chart shows. This is my last chart today, and this chart is about, this is work by WCAC, this organization measuring the presence of Catalan in the internet, I told you. And this is, they do a very important job, I would say, by trying every month to check how many Catalan companies and institutions based in Catalonia do have a Catalan language version of their websites. And this chart has two readings, two possible interpretations, because Catalan is above 60% in 2012. That means that more than 60% of those Catalan companies and institutions do have a Catalan-speaking version. But the negative reading of this is that 40%, which is quite a figure, 40% of those institutions, companies do not have, based in Catalonia, do not have a Catalan language version, which is quite telling, I would say. But then again, the trend seems to be in favor of Catalan. You can see that the height of the blue part of the column is on the rise clearly, although in the last years it seems to have been more or less stagnant. But again, there is a slight increase every month, and this is supposed to be to continue in the future. Now, general conclusions. I will be short and brief to give time to the debate or questions. Most of those conclusions will be quite familiar to most of the audience, because almost everybody knows this in Catalonia. But the good thing is that the figures, this is not about, I think that, this is not about, my impression is, this is about figures, real figures, with all the flaws that statistics have, because of course statistics are very tricky to manage, but it's better than nothing. Having statistics is better than nothing. So the statistics are showing that indeed Catalan language is in a minority position in the Catalan media landscape. In its own territory, it's in a minority position. But in the last 5-7 years, one can see a slow but clear trend towards an increase, an improvement of the relative position of Catalan as opposed to Spanish. That means we are in the path towards normalization. The figures seem to point to that direction, that at least concerning the presence of the language in the Catalan media, things are getting better. if we focus on single media channels or outlets, broadcasting is clearly the area where Catalan is in a better position. And you saw before that it has reached almost an equilibrium between with Spanish in terms of people listening to networks, mostly general networks, or in terms of reach, how many people listen to Catalan or Spanish media. Catalan language is also quite healthy on the internet. I would say that mostly due to this activism, because if you look at the companies, you can see that there is a lot of work to be done to reach a situation whereas a vast majority of those companies and institutions have a Catalan version of their webs. And theatrical exhibition is the area which shows the worst figures. This is well known for locals. Although it seems there is hope for an improvement thanks to some successes in the box office, like Panegre is the most quoted example. But it seems that the linguistic policies deployed by the Catalan government are yielding some results, and after many years of debating about the low figures of theatrical attendance of films in Catalan, or the low figure of films actually being dubbed in Catalan, it seems that Catalan language is in the good way. And further research, maybe some of you are already involved in doing this kind of research. What is interesting is, beyond the figures, the actual figures, is why. To look, I would say this is the real challenge. Why those figures? What's the role of the Catalan government? Did the policies, after many years, start yielding results? And what's the role of the market? Do Catalans feel more and more comfortable using media in Catalan language? Which is the role of both, of the market and the policies in this trend, in this general trend we saw? And that's all. Thank you very much.
Perfecte, amb el temps ens ha anat molt bé perquè hem pogut recuperar. Tenim 5 minuts per fer preguntes, 5 minutes for questions.
Just a question. We were talking about the theater, and in this case, there is a difference between movies and theater.
Okay,
and
sorry.
I think there is a clear difference between.
Maybe I made a
movies.
mistake. Yeah.
No, it's not a mistake. It's just a question.
It's movies.
It's movies. Because I think I might guess that in theater, in stage, there is a higher increase, a higher use of Catalan. That might.
Yeah, probably. I don't have data for stage performance, but it's just for theatrical exhibition of movies. Maybe I was not clear enough. Thank you for making the clarification.
And may I add another question, very quick? And I am curious. I've never been asked about my consumption. I mean, how is the general idea? How it's managed? How it's organized? This survey. I've never been asked what I watch.
Well, it's a long question to answer, but there are actually in Spain at this moment, at present, there are 4 measurements companies or institutions with different methods. The barometer, it's a typical poll or survey with people going to homes. Mostly it's personal, face-to-face, and they use a tablet for entering data and for showing people ask people to show which is the network they listened yesterday, which paper did they read the previous day, and then there is this Jornada, which is about circulation, and it's about how many copies do newspapers distribute. And then there is a system for declarations and controls, and well, it's we can talk about this later if you want. Can tell me.
Una pregunta aquí.
Sí, molt breu. Quan parlaves de les... Perdoneu que parli en català.
No, no faltaria.
Quan parlaves de les empreses, no sé si m'agrada, però clar, eren les que tenien només seu aquí, tant si fos el capital català, per dir-ho manera, o capital estranger. Com ha estat el tema?
She asked about whether those companies in the internet chart were those only based here or having a majority of the capital, local capital. It's about companies based with their headquarters based in Catalonia. La seu principal de l'empresa...
La seu principal? Volkswagen...
Surt a la... Contesta tu, tu saps millor.
Ho provarem.
Tu coneixes l'estadística de WCAG, no?
Sí, però juraria que no són només seus amb la seu... Perdó, empreses
amb la seu central,
no, sinó que són empreses oferint serveis aquí. Per tant, la
val.
Volkswagen, la Ford, també són...
Veus com... Ja us havia dit que sabíeu més que jo de...
I would say it's not only firms which whose base is in Catalonia, but also international firms which are serving the Catalan public also. That means that Volkswagen is also taken into account there.
Yeah, those companies with an activity, with relevant activity in Catalonia. But this, I would say that this WCAG statistics, it's a very difficult one to achieve, because how can you count on a monthly basis, and they do, but they must be all the time going into websites, and I don't know what methodology actually they are.
It can be automatized.
Ah, really?
But I'm not.
There is a software.
Sure.
We should ask Joan Soler.
Exactly.
He knows, because he is the man behind all this.
No sé si hi ha cap pregunta més. Sí. La farem l'última, i recordeu que després tenim el dinar, i al dinar els ponents estaran disponibles perquè salteu al coll dels ponents. I was threatening that during the lunch you will be available, so people will be able to look for you and jump on you. Sí.
You said on your first diapositive
Chart, yeah?
Chart.
Yeah.
You said that there were 33 daily newspapers that had constant circulation. On which parameters did you base that they had constant circulation?
Well, those newspapers, which are Catalan newspapers, those it's clear, Vanguardia, for instance, or Ara, or Diari de Girona, this is clear. But then, in the mix, we added as well those Madrid-based newspapers with the circulation here, which are all of them, because all of the Madrid papers have a circulation in Catalonia, including sports newspapers and economy newspapers. Because maybe you were a little bit surprised with this figure of 33, but you need to consider sports newspapers, dailies. There are four or five if you consider El Nou Esportiu, sports newspapers being distributed in Catalonia, and there are 4 economic dailies as well with a distribution in Catalonia, and there are many free papers, free dailies. Not so many now, because 3 of them disappeared or closed down. but the figure is real. I checked it, so it's. Sorry. Sí. The figure seems to be quite high, but it's real. And I'm not counting, for instance, El Heraldo de Aragón. Do you know El Heraldo de Aragón? It's a newspaper from Saragossa, and it has marginal circulations in Catalonia. I didn't count it because the circulation is too little to include it as a real paper with a real circulation in Catalonia.
Molt bé, moltes gràcies. Tanquem aquesta sessió. Now we invite Pete Barker i